What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the this week, we're going to be talking Bills, short review of the Raiders game. We're not really going to go over too much draft stuff just because there's so much to talk about. And of course, we're going to go over that whole Tua versus Fitzpatrick thing that we've talked about. But first and foremost, we have the pleasure of introducing Alfredo Arteaga onto the show. Alfredo, thank you for being here, man.
Great to be on with you guys.
Yeah, so for those of you that are watching, I'm sure you guys know already, but Alfredo hosts 3 Yards Per Carry with our other people, Chris Kaufman and Simon Clancy. That comes out, I believe, twice a week. You guys do that podcast.
Yeah, except these last 2 weeks. Last week because of Christmas and this week because of the 31st. So we did extended episodes both weeks.
Right, and both episodes are already out. You can find them on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen. It is a must listen for all Dolphins fans. And Alfredo also puts out his yard work every week here on the YouTube channel. So the dude knows what he's talking about. We're super happy to have him here. Before we go any further, I do also want to let you guys know, please subscribe to the channel. We are super close to 10,000
short.
subscribers. Yeah. We're so close to 10,000 subscribers. We're trying to get there before the end of the year. So please help us out with that. But without further ado, let's jump right into the hot topic. Let's jump right into the first thing. We beat the Raiders, yes, but that is not what anybody's talking about. Everyone is just talking about this Fitzpatrick versus Tua Tagovailoa thing. Who should start? Who should play? Alfredo, why don't you start us out? What do you think of the whole situation?
Yeah, I think it's just people trying to find things to talk about, and it was I think it was Kyle Van Noy who said it, and it was Kyle Van Noy who said it. Where he asked the media to be a little bit better, just be better. Promote what's actually worth promoting. Right, and then there was another Twitter user, follower of the 3 Yards Per Carry account, and I forgot his name, but he said, you guys want leads? This team is loaded with leads, okay? Coach of the Year candidate, a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, a rookie quarterback that's finding his way and actually winning games, the number 1 defense. By the way, are you guys aware that the Dolphins are this close to being the first defense in the history of the NFL to be first in third down efficiency, red zone efficiencies, number 1 in points allowed,
right,
and turnover differential. So
amazing.
They could do all those things in a week. And what are we talking about? Oh, Tua doesn't throw it down. Tua doesn't throw it deep again, and so he
doesn't have enough arm strength. He doesn't.
Yeah. It reminds me of the days when I would. It was when we just started the 3 Yards Per Carry account. We would get a lot of questions. Why can't Tannehill throw deep? You guys remember that?
How many wide receivers did we buy just to help him with the deep ball?
Remember that? And then all of a sudden in 2016, he becomes like the second best deep ball thrower, the most efficient deep ball thrower in the NFL, second best. And now he's top 3 going on 2 years. Yep. So, it just happens, I guess.
Yeah, it's nuts. But Kai, Juan, what was the biggest takeaway you guys had from the Raiders game? Outside of the whole quarterback situation, give me anything else. Literally anything.
Juan, do you want to go first here?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for me, the biggest takeaway was our probably our most explosive player, which was Myles Gaskin. I mean, that was probably the first game since I think maybe like the Jets game where I can remember him being decisive, aggressive, hitting his holes, and then as soon as he's able to cut it, he would cut it, and he made Raekwon miss a couple times. It was kind of ironic to see, but for sure him.
Wow, we heard that before,
right? and also his ability to catch it. I mean, on that long 59-yard touchdown. I mean, just real quick, also shout out because you guys give him a lot of love, Mac Hollins for his ability to block. He absolutely destroyed 2 guys on that block, and he was able to sprung it loose. So for sure, Myles Gaskin for me.
Yeah, Kai.
I guess I would have to agree. Like, it's just also, I guess, AVG. I know there's a singular person in the 5R network that is not a fan of AVG. However, I guess not to piggyback off of for real. I guess not to piggyback off of Juan. I think seeing his development throughout this year, and especially he has stepped up in times where he's been needed. So that's been great to see, and just like getting that development, especially after all of the, I guess, not hype, but like disappointment from fans after not getting Chase Winovich when he was in the draft. So like to see that kind of happen and to finally stop hearing about Chase Winovich and we like certain other things, like to finally have a guy that's developing and to make a huge impact on the game, that was great to see.
Yeah, I think my standout, which is actually a standout because he does this every week. But Xavier Howard's playing that game, right? They barely threw his way, and when they did, it always looked like it was really close to being an interception, which isn't surprising, right? We've seen him pick the ball off. We've seen him play really well. But my thing with Xavier was we haven't seen him get to a point of the year where opposing offenses completely went away from Howard, right? Like we had seen them staying away from Byron Jones' side of the field, and he wasn't getting too much run, and they kept trying with Howard, and he was there, and he would get an interception. But now they're completely staying away from him, and it's great to see that. But this also works as a transition point. You brought it up earlier, Alfredo. You've got some big awards with the Dolphins. You've got Xavier Howard, who should be at worst second or third in terms of Defensive Player of the Year voting, and you've got Brian Flores, who has to be the runaway first for Coach of the Year. Alfredo, we'll start with you. Do you think both of them will end up getting these awards? And if they don't, who's going to get them?
Okay, I don't think Xavier Howard's going to get it, although that was a really good stamp on his season as far as being Defensive Player of the Year. I thought he was great in that Raiders game. It might have been his best game because they tried their best. They tried everything they could to free up Ruggs deep because they decided, you know what, we're not going to run too many things on Xavier underneath because we just tried a couple of things with Aguilar on Xavier and he almost intercepted it. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to get him deep. So they tried everything within their power to try to get Henry Ruggs deep on him, and he just didn't allow it. So he deserves it. I don't think he's going to get it. I think Aaron Donald has built up so much goodwill that he's going to get it. TJ Watt has completely fallen off the face of the earth.
The last couple of weeks, team has
the whole Steelers.
The Steelers are going to get first rounded. They're going to get first rounded.
So I think Xavier falls just shy, finishes second, I think, and I do think they're going to give the Coach of the Year award to Brian Flores, and they're going to give it to him basically because of what happened in one game, and that was the Browns losing to the Jets. Because if not, they were going to give it to Stefanski because the national media has this love affair with the Lobo loser Browns. And, had they won 12 games, come on, it's the Cleveland Browns winning 12 games. So that coach had to have been good, right? So no, I do think Brian Flores is going to get Coach of the Year.
Yeah. Juan, Kai, do we agree with what Alfredo said? Do you guys think there's anybody else that might end up with Coach of the Year or Defensive Player of the Year?
Stefanski would have been just the only other. I mean, it is exactly what Alfredo said. It's like if the Browns had gotten to that point to get to 12 wins, especially considering though they still might lose because it is the Cleveland Browns. Just putting it out there, this weekend against the Steelers, even if it's Mason Rudolph, if they had gotten to 11, eventually if they won this week to 12, you just have no other choice but to give it to him. But then you lose to the Jets, and yes, you're missing a lot of players, but it's the Jets. It's just losing this year to the Jets is like losing to the Jaguars. It's just you can't. That's a horrible stamp on your year, and they could miss the playoffs because of it. So it's just I don't think you give it to anyone but Brian Flores.
Right, Juan. Anybody else that comes to mind?
Actually, I was kind of in the school of thought where I thought we would get one of the two. I didn't think we would get both Coach of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year. But kind of how the optics are playing out, week 17 is going to be a big game.
Yep.
And not just because of obviously playoff ramifications, but also because McDermott has gotten a lot of love lately for what they've done and what they've done with Josh Allen and developing him and all that type of stuff. I feel like he could be a Coach of the Year candidate, and it would be probably a matchup of two Coach of the Year candidates.
Right.
And then also with Diggs, Diggs has, for me, and I think Alfredo has talked about it too. Diggs should be getting a little bit of MVP love because the type of numbers he's put up in the game he's paired up with Josh Allen. It's been amazing, and we're gonna see now. Xavier predominantly. Right. I don't think they're gonna follow him. I don't think they're gonna shadow. They tried to do that last time with Byron, and then when Byron went down, they went with Iggy, and we saw the outcome of that. Right. I think they'll do probably a little something different. Probably try to bracket him a little more. But I mean, it's if Xavier has an excellent game, probably holds him down under 50 yards. I mean, that's another stamp right there. Yep. And we're talking about 2 back-to-backs. I mean,
that's what actually I was going to mention too, because I was like, I agree. I don't think Xavier Howard's going to get it just because it's not sacks and he just hasn't been getting the love this year that we would have expected, right? But if he has a big game against Josh Allen, who's having his best year by far, right, that would boost up his stock. And the other guy I was going to mention as well is the coach of the year. I think you have to give McDermott some love. Granted, if you could give an assistant of the year, which I don't think there is, but if you could give an assistant of the year, it would have to go to Brian Daboll, the offensive coordinator for the Bills, because this turnaround that has happened with the entire Bills offense is nuts. But I agree. If Xavier can have an interception and hold Diggs to maybe 2-3 catches for just like a couple yards, maybe like 40, 45, that's a pretty big stamp on a guy who's been playing probably second, third best wide receiver in the league this year. So,
yeah, I think maybe the other case, I guess, would have been for McDermott. Maybe there's not really anyone in the NFC that
Anthony Lynn. Nobody thinks Anthony Lynn deserves Coach of the Year. Anyone? No.
Yeah, he's gonna lose his job on Monday. I'd be shocked if he didn't, honestly. But I guess you also give it to him.
Adam Gase. We can all listen. I would
apparently also is losing his job.
No, I would give it to Adam Gase honestly, just to keep him in New York.
I've been surprised he's actually held on to his job this long. I mean, realistically, what did he start 0-13? That's bad, okay. But then you win 2 games, and that's even worse. Okay.
I'll give you a good Coach of the Year candidate. Who won Coach of the Year last year? If anybody can look it up.
I don't remember.
Because usually you have that Super Bowl hangover. There is no Super Bowl hangover in KC. They're 14-1.
Harbaugh.
They're probably going to be 15-1. Okay, give it to Andy Reid. I wouldn't have a problem with Andy Reid being Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
Number 1.
And just make it some type of 2-year award. Like, hey, you won it last year. You went 15-1 this year. So here, have the Coach of the Year trophy. You probably deserve it for your performance these last 2 years. Although I don't understand how Coach of the Year should be given out at season's end. It should be given out
at the end of partway through the playoffs at least. But
yeah, after the playoffs. Yeah, like right before the Super Bowl,
Right. But then, I mean, you're going to run into, they're basically always going to say, just give it to the Super Bowl champion at that point. I think that's what they're wanting to keep it away from. Comments are also mentioning Matt LaFleur, just because Green Bay's done pretty well.
Yeah, but Aaron Rodgers, I mean, he's doing
Aaron Rodgers has been an animal this year.
Yeah,
what a weird MVP race. Usually every single year you get like a runaway, right? Like the first 4 or 5 weeks, everybody was saying, okay, Mahomes is going to be MVP because he had the 15 touchdowns and the 1 pick, right? After 6 weeks.
Right.
Okay. And the reason I know that is because I looked it up because somebody told me that Ryan Fitzpatrick had similar numbers to Mahomes after the first 6 weeks. So I looked that up, and then I was like, wow, that guy couldn't have been more wrong.
I don't think that guy wanted to bench Fitzpatrick for Tua. I think that was his whole argument.
Yeah, but remember around week 8, everybody was saying, hey, everybody's sleeping on Russell Wilson. He's doing this with no defense. Yeah. His offensive line's not giving him much help. And now we're all the way back to Aaron Rodgers. And if you watch that last game,
he's going to win it.
He's going to win, and he deserves it.
I think it's between him and – I mean, I give Josh Allen some props, too. I'd give him at second or third in that MVP race. As much as – listen, don't get me wrong.
But
I hate Josh Allen. I can't stand him. Ugh. Disgusting.
He's had some – I mean, I guess Aaron Rodgers also had that really bad game against the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
But, Aaron Rodgers has to win the MVP this year. But then just to reference and kind of bring us back a little bit – Harbaugh was the one who won it last year after bringing the Ravens to their best season, apparently, in their history. So he got it last year. I just think it would be ridiculous to give it to anybody not named Brian Flores. It just wouldn't make any sense.
It doesn't. I mean, he was in the conversations last year. Nobody was actually going to give him Coach of the Year.
5-11.
But people were talking about it because it was such a bad team,
especially if it's a flip like that. If you go from 5-11 to 11-5 and you make the playoffs, and at that point you're the 5th seed in the playoffs, after starting the way that you did this season, there's no one else.
Well, and think about it this way: all of these quote unquote geniuses, when they take over jobs, you expect them to fix what was ailing that team. Like Nagy gets to Chicago, and everybody's okay. He's He's an offensive guru. He's going to fix this offense. He didn't fix that offense. Adam Gase got here.
Yep.
He's supposed to be an offensive guru. Was he supposed to fix it? He didn't fix it.
Yep.
Okay. But what was Brian Flores? Brian Flores was a defensive guru.
Mm-hmm.
He's here after 1 year, number one defense. So he actually did what everybody else asks their rookie coaches to do.
Right, which is nuts. I mean, you go from they were 32nd in points per game allowed, right? Yeah. Last year, all the way to first. He had one offseason to rebuild his defense. One. And you can't tell me that this defense is...
And it wasn't even an offseason, though. Think about it. Like, it was not a full...
Right. Well, you had an offseason of acquisitions. That's what he had a whole offseason to get his drafted players, get the free agents, and he comes in, and I'm sorry, we can all be honest. This team it's not like it's a defense littered with stars, right? Like Xavier Howard is really good. Eric Rowe is one of the better tight end covers, and then Byron Jones. But outside of that, in terms of like top-notch talent, nobody was overpaying for a lot of these guys. Like Ogba was a pretty cheap get on the free agent market. Shaq Lawson was pretty cheap. We're making Van Ginkel look amazing. Jerome Baker was a second-round pick that some people are still ready to give up on, but that's debatable. I don't know. Alfredo, you look like you disagree with me. I don't think it's littered with conventional stars that other people would love. But
I think you have to look like a couple of years into the future. And in a couple of years into the future, you might say, wow, we had 5 Pro Bowlers, and inside those 5 Pro Bowlers, Kristen Wilkins might be in there, Raekwon Davis might be in there, Emmanuel Ogba might be going off of his 3rd consecutive 10-sack season on the consecutive, top 3 defense for 3 consecutive years. Right. So, there's a lot of talent on that side of the ball. And we haven't mentioned one guy, Nick Needham. Nick Needham's going to be expensive if he keeps playing the way he's playing.
He is.
And I believe he's a free agent after next season. And everybody's saying, oh, you gotta lock him up now. Yeah, okay. If I'm his agent, I'm waiting a year because look, I forgot his name, man. What was the name of the slot corner that got paid by Tennessee when he left the
Logan Ryan?
You nailed it. He got, what did he get? Like $12 million?
Yeah, he got a really big
year.
Contract.
Okay,
think about why though. Who's coaching over there?
Oh yeah, Mike Vrabel.
Yeah, they always
really quick.
Their boys.
Needham's a free agent this season, restricted free agent at the end of the season.
Okay, restricted. He ain't going nowhere. Somebody's gonna have to tender him. We'll tender him all the way up. And if somebody wants to give us a second round
pick, we'll take it.
Yeah.
He won't be going anywhere.
This is looking into the future. Do you think that Igbenogany would ever fill in that slot role, or is Igbenogany just going to be outside? Because I know he played outside when he came in against the Bills, and did he come in a couple weeks ago too against someone?
Yeah, he played very few snaps as of late, though.
Against the Chargers or something?
Against the Bengals, he played some snaps.
Right, and he played on AJ Green.
And he played pretty well, although let's face it, AJ Green is coming to the end of it. Right. But the weird thing about Igbenogany is that, the book on him, his draft book, his draft profile. His draft profile was pretty simple. It was simple. It was he was the best slot corner in the entire draft.
Right.
And that's what justified taking him in the first round. Because if you're a team, if you're trying to build this, this secondary of doom, and you have Byron Jones, you have Xavier Howard, and you're like, okay, now you're going to go draft the slot guy in the first round, then okay, that makes a lot of sense. Especially when, if you watch the Dolphins on tape, they're in nickel the entire game. Yeah. And then they're in dime for another 20 snaps. So you don't need 2 corners. You need like 4, really.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And let me ask you, Alfredo, because when I had seen that the Noah pick, I had kind of gotten the impression that it was more so to start, I guess, grooming Xavier's replacement. Because I mean, we see Xavier. We kind of did like what you said about Nick Needham, how we tried to get his agent early. We were like, with Xavier, we got him a lot earlier than Jalen Ramsey, than a lot of these guys, to where he priced himself kind of out of the market, where everybody else is making more. Even Byron Jones is not making more than him. And I felt that also that with that, I think he had a little bit of a legal issue in January 2 or December 2.
Yeah.
I think those kind of things, for me, I kind of read it like, okay, they're trying to like maybe get a replacement for X. I don't know what you felt about that.
Yeah, it's insurance. I think first of all, they said, okay, do we like the player? Yes. Okay. Does he fit into our plans even with X? Absolutely, because he, they couldn't look into the crystal ball and say, hey, Nick Needham was going to be one of the best slot corners in the entire NFL. You know what I mean? So they're thinking, this is a guy that we're going to need next year. We're probably even going to need him this year to play the slot. But yeah, it's also insurance because it's not about only the legal issue. You got to think about it like this. X has had he's had 2 knee surgeries. Okay. And one serious injury and one injury that we don't know if it was serious or not because they said, oh, we just shut him down. But all of a sudden, he was rehabbing 5 months later. So maybe it was a serious injury and they just played it off like it wasn't. So, it's an insurance thing.
Right. I agree. And this whole secondary looks really stacked. I mean, you've got 2 amazing boundary corners. You've got a slot corner who at the beginning of the season, myself included, I think, Kai, you were on the ship with me and so was Lewis. We were not happy with Needham's play. Not the first couple weeks of the season.
I was on it, but I also was more so like I was a part of I had that roller coaster last year, like especially when I went to the last game that they had at home in the preseason, watching him play. I think I might have tweeted like 30 times in just that game, get 40 off the field. And I was on don't understand how he made the roster. He looked like trash. And then he just, I turned into a believer.
Yeah. I mean, we've all changed. I mean, Bobby McCain too, right?
Get to it.
By the way, also interesting, and I'll credit Omar Kelly for this. You guys know what Nick Needham's nickname is on the team?
Superstar. I know that one. I know that one. Is he referencing that old movie with the girl from Saturday Night Live? Is that what?
Who knows? Who knows? But
that's what it is.
Coaches, Byron Jones, they all call him Superstar.
That's amazing. But hilarious. You've got that great secondary, and we are 1 game away from the playoffs, and we'll jump into Bills preview here. And with that transition being, you got that great secondary, and you're going up against, I think they're the 2nd best passing offense in terms of yards per game. They've got 2 players who are going to be over 1,000 yards. One of them is Diggs. He's already over it. And I think it's, what's their slot guy? I just saw him. What's his name? Cole Beasley. Beasley's at like 967 yards, so he's right there. He's going to pass it unless we completely shut him down.
Although I would be shocked. I would be shocked if he plays.
Oh,
he's
really?
He's been iffy the last few weeks in and out of the lineup.
Okay.
And I think now, come on, like, really, is he really that important? I would try to save him for the playoffs.
Right.
Because, a guy that's in and out of the lineup, for the last 2 weeks, and then actually left the Patriots game and didn't come back, I believe, early in the fourth quarter when they were only up 2 scores. So, they were playing Diggs.
Either.
Yeah. So, he didn't practice today either. So,
Beasley, no. Didn't practice today.
Okay. So, I'd be surprised if he played. So, he's going to finish just short.
But it's a big matchup. I mean, this is going to be our most important game of the year. I mean, we've had the past 2 games were also really important because you needed to win them to make the playoffs, right? We don't want to leave it on anybody else's shoulders. But Kai, we'll start with you. What's your biggest key for the Dolphins to win against the Bills?
Do we have any hard knowing on if
they're playing or not?
If they're actually playing, that's the big question.
McDermott was playing like cute. He was like yes, but no, and no. But
and
Chris Kaufman, they took like some bets off yesterday. At the
line opened 5.5 favored for the Buffalo Bills, and then they took it off the board completely, and then they reopened it at -1.5 Bills. So
and they're at home too, so.
Yeah. So basically, they're essentially saying that we're favorites.
Yeah. 1.5, right?
Yeah. So, and Chris Kaufman made a great point. If he was going to play everybody, he wouldn't be playing cute about, I don't know about this, I don't know about that.
Yeah, he would just come out and say, we're not going to play.
Yeah.
I think one of you also mentioned, I can't remember if it was CK who mentioned on the podcast that I can't remember what it was specifically, but why play them now when you're going to get into a playoff game unless they feel like this might be a playoff matchup? Like, why expose what you might use essentially if this does end up happening? Like, if they drop essentially to 4, and then it would be 4 versus 5, them versus us. I guess it all just depends on like what happens. Literally, if the starters are in, like, contain. I almost called him Jake Fromm because I looked at the injury report. Contain Josh Allen.
I hope it's Jake Fromm.
Jake from State Farm. such a stupid Twitter handle, but it's funny. I guess it would be contain Josh Allen if they play Stephon again. If they play Stephon Diggs, of course it was Noah Benogany who had to end up playing on him. I believe in that game X was out, and then Byron Jones got injured in the sort of the beginning of the game. Correct, if I'm not mistaken.
No, X was in.
X was in, but he was playing injured. He was playing injured.
Yeah, that was like his first or second game back.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So it just I don't put him back on don't put Noah Benogany on him
Diggs.
at all. Yeah. So I'm reading the comments, reading this. Don't put him back on Stephon Diggs at all. I don't think he'll probably get the field. Try to contain Josh Allen the best you can. And then one of the things that I look at as well is the Dolphins had multiple chances to win that game in week 2. It would be, I guess, it would be shocking because both teams are playing better than they were in week 2. Josh Allen's playing a lot better than he was. The Dolphins defense and kind of, I guess, the offense. They're playing better. They look different than what they were in week 2. I wouldn't be shocked if the Dolphins won the game. I know we'll go towards that after, but contain Josh Allen and don't let Stephon Diggs. He had 150 something, I think, that game.
Yards.
Yeah, don't just as long as that doesn't happen. And then if Cole Beasley is out, especially with the knee injury, didn't practice today. If he doesn't practice tomorrow, it would probably be shocking if he's ready for that game. It's just another boost. And then at that point, you kind of have, you have to come in with a win regardless, but it would be a little bit of a shock.
Right. Alfredo?
Yeah, if the Dolphins win, it's almost impossible to play the Bills in the first round of the playoffs.
Right, because we'd have to drop all the way to 7, and
it's impossible. It just is. If the Dolphins win, they're going to stick with that 4-5 matchup. I saw the stat today, and it's like 80 different matchups. Out of the 80 different matchups, 60 of them are the Tennessee Titans, which is kind of interesting, right?
That'll be. Listen, I'll fly to Nashville. I'll fly to Nashville to go to that game,
which is kind of interesting. All right, so yeah, I don't. You know what they could do, and I don't think this is smart, to be honest with you. But what they could do is they could say, you know what, we're playing everybody as if we're going to win for one half, and then they're coming out regardless. Whether we're up, 6-3, or we're tied 10-10, or if we're down 10-0, they're playing one half and one half only, just to keep a rhythm. That's something that the Bills could do.
That makes a lot of sense. But regardless of that, Alfredo, what do you think is the most important thing the Dolphins need to key in on to win that game?
Stay true to their identity. They got to run the ball and run the ball enough to, keep your identity. Win that time of possession battle. Stay in character and try to build some shot plays off of our running game that we found as of late. Because you need to do something because teams are beginning to have no respect for us pushing the ball down the field.
Yep, and it sucks. We have no over-the-top receiver right now. Grant is out, and there's not a single guy. If I was an opposing defensive coordinator, there's not a single guy that I would look at and say, I'm a little scared of him if he runs downfield. There's not one. Not one. That's terrible. Juan, what do you think?
I think I found it kind of interesting what Alfredo said about the Bills bringing in their starters for at least a half. Just because most of the games that are important to us play at 1:00. So that being the Ravens and the Bengals and the Steelers and the Browns. So that I feel like the NFL kind of played into that too. So it'd be smart of the Bills to kind of go into that having that mindset. But ultimately, I feel like, they're just probably going to take it easy. I'm seeing also the injury report. I think for last week, I think John Brown didn't play at all. I don't know if he practiced this week. So, they're not all the way healthy.
Right. He's not on the report today.
So they're not all the way healthy as it is. So they'll probably not put all of their starters. And even if they do, they probably won't play a lot of snaps. For us, though, I feel like it is an important game regardless. Obviously we need the win, right? But just to get this offense some rhythm, get some confidence into Tua and just kind of let him know that, hey, look, we have this reliever that we can go into. Right. But and I heard him talk about it today in his press conference where he said something where it's Brian Flores comes up to him before and asks him, hey, how are you doing? Are you feeling it? Are you in a rhythm? And he kind of lets him know, which I gotta sit on that and kind of feel like know how to feel about that. I don't know. But we just got to get him established, man. We got to start rip the Band-Aid off and that whole 2 playbook thing. where it's trust or whatever Chan Gailey wants to say. We just gotta let him rip and just see what happens, you know?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. So I rewatched some of the highlights from the first game we had against the Bills. Interesting stat line that I found was Isaiah Ford had 7 receptions for 76 yards in that first game against the Bills. Since then, he's been traded to the Patriots, let go by the Patriots, picked back up by the Dolphins, and he was just re-elevated again to the active squad. So maybe
he was promoted. He wasn't elevated. So he's on the 53. Like, it wasn't just like a game day promotion.
Yeah, I knew he was on it last week.
I'm thinking Jakeem is probably done for the
last week. He was
last
week. He was elevated for game day. This week he's been promoted to the 53.
Right. So I think he can have a pretty big game. I think it's good to see him back. Maybe he just has the Bills number. But this was something I wanted to ask Alfredo that Juan brought up, that whole conversation to have with Tua and when to pull him out and stuff. And I know we're not trying to have too much QB talk, but I just thought of this and I found it kind of interesting. So we struggled against the Bengals in the first half, right? Offensively, we can all admit to that. We struggled against the Chiefs. Kind of, second quarter, we had a bad quarter. Third quarter offense didn't start great. We also had the safety that was picked up by the Chiefs. Those games, though, Tua didn't come out, right? And I'm curious, what do you think the reasoning is? Like, what was the similarities between the Denver and Raiders game as opposed to the Chiefs and Bengals game where they decide, no, we're going to pull him out. He can't bring us back. Versus those other ones who are like, let's keep him in. We think we can make something happen.
I think he was completely confused at points. And I think that they schemed him to the bench, really. Because in the Denver game, he was just really, really bad. He wasn't taking a lot. It wasn't that he wasn't taking any chances. Is that he was letting wide open people just run free. And he was staring at them and not letting the ball go. He was just really, really bad. Against the Raiders, they were scheming him into all of those shorter throws. Now he wasn't helped much, and I said it the other day. It's really hard to have only 94 yards passing with 17 completions. Yeah. But you know what is also really hard? To have only 94 yards receiving with 17 completions. Like, break a tackle.
Yeah, it works both ways. Yeah,
it works both ways. Miles Gaskin caught a 6-yard pass.
Yeah, it broke it for
59.
Yeah.
Okay. So, that could have happened for Tua. It didn't.
Yeah, but by the way, there was the same play like that where Miles ran a 4-yard route, didn't run a 5-yarder, and then we ended up having to do a fake punt.
Well, and Grant, too, had the one where he bobbled it, and if you look at that whole field to his left side with Grant's speed, he could have scored. Right? At worst, it was a 25-yard gain. Could have gotten the offense moving, and he's just like, I don't really feel like catching this cleanly. That sounds kind of boring. So
yeah, what's worse is the first, and I put it on yard work, the first snap from scrimmage. I don't know if you saw it, Juan. Yeah. It was max protect 3-man route, and Isaiah Ford pops wide open on the post. It was a touchdown. It was a pitch and catch touchdown, and Tua missed it.
He didn't trust it. I don't know if he didn't see it or if I'm really not sure. Yeah, but
he ended up rolling to the right on that play, did he not?
Yeah, he ended up started to drift and drift and drift while he had max protect. If you have max protect, if you want, just back up a little bit.
Right. Yeah. There was the one too where he threw it to Gasicki and it was almost intercepted, and it was like Gasicki had his guy open over the top, where if he had just lobbed it just a little bit more, right, that one could have broken out for another gain. It's just, but you're right. Nobody broke a tackle. The only guy on this team that can break a tackle is Lynn Bowden and Myles Gaskin sometimes, right? Like maybe once or twice a game, he'll break a tackle. So 17 completions for 94 yards. That's.
Yeah. And another interesting stat, Mike Gesicki's in his entire career, I believe he has 1 broken tackle, which is interesting. Yes.
I want him to end his career. I want him to end his career with just that 1 broken tackle. Then I want to find the name of that player, and I want to let him never hear the end of it. Be like, Mike Gesicki, you're the only person who couldn't tackle him.
That's wild. Terrible. I didn't know
that. Yeah. Somebody put up that stat, and I was like, no, you're making that up. And I looked it up, and sure enough, he had 1 broken tackle his entire career.
Oh,
but the Jakeem. Sometimes it's just bad luck, Like Jakeem saw it, and he saw it in front of him, and he bobbled it. If he catches it clean,
pass in stride.
That's my thing. If he catches it, he outruns that guy to the corner and he scores. He might score.
The 2 corners that were covering the other receiver, they fell down on that play. They were on the
Mhm.
ground. He catches it cleanly. For me, it's easy. He just has to beat that safety, and he has the speed to beat that angle.
Mhm.
It's just frustrating with me because I feel like there's so many times where
didn't
like
you say his name? I thought you don't
Did
say
I?
his name anymore, Juan.
Nah, it's 19. Yeah, come
Yeah,
on.
19.
It's
Come on,
19.
My
stick
bad,
to
my
what
bad,
you
my
say.
My
He
bad.
got no. He got
I forgot.
his first name back. So it
Okay,
is Jakeem.
just the first name, Jakeem
It's
19.
Jakeem 19. Yes.
Yeah, but I feel like there's just always like 2 or 3 plays where it's just like they don't help them out. They don't help their young QB out. And like I also see it with sometimes where like Flo, I feel like his patience kind of runs out too. Because they gave him basically what amounted to 2 drives after we went down 16-13. And the first drive, I don't know if you can remember it clearly, but the first drive, the first play was a 7-yard run by Mallows. The second play, Eric Flowers completely whiffed on a stunt. Like he didn't even bother looking at the guy turning around through the corner. So that was a sack. And then the next one was like a 1-yard route by Gasicki. So it's like it like, how do you also get him into a rhythm where it's like you're probably going into the game telling them, hey, play it safe, no interceptions, no fumbles.
Yep.
Make sure you know who you're throwing to. Don't risk anything because you have a defense that can win you a game. But then it's also like 3 quarters in, it's like, yo,
why aren't you throwing more dangerous passes? What are you
scratch
doing?
all that. I need you to throw it 40 yards, and I need you to sit back there for 4 and 5 seconds. And it's tough for me because it's like as me as a human being, I'm like, yo, like what would I do? I'd probably be like sucking my teeth, like, yo, dang, like there's no winning. Like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like, I don't know. It's tough for me.
Right.
That goes.
Yeah, I think there was a moment where Brian Flores just got upset, and he said, "Okay, we're going to go to Ryan Fitzpatrick." And I believe it was when he took that last sack where he basically walked into a sack, and he had perfect pass pro on that play.
Yeah,
and he did have an open receiver. I believe it was Gasecki on a flag route, who was open, because on that play he just he saw ghosts on that play because they showed like a zero blitz. And he called out guys to come in tighter the formation. And who knows if he asked them to slide, because you could see that Karras is saying you got to get that white guy over there, and we're going to let that guy go. Because you always slide one guy, and then you let the farthest guy that's blitzing is the one that you just let go. Yeah, he has to be the free rusher because you don't have enough guys to block everybody.
And you play harder for that.
Yeah, and you don't want anybody free up the middle. You want to make sure when they're blitzing, you block the people up the middle. Well, they showed it. But then they sent 3,
right?
And you have be patient. You have you're blocking 3 guys. And what did he do? He was like, no, I got to get out of this pocket, and he walked right into a sack. I think that is what set Brian Flores off, and that's why he replaced him.
Yeah, Kai, you were gonna say something?
I was gonna say it goes into that whole 2 different playbook thing, and I think on top of that, was he asked either today or yesterday about I can't really remember.
I think it was today.
Whether he thought he would be back next year. I don't remember if that was today or yesterday.
Oh wait, Fitz?
Gailey?
No, Gailey.
Oh,
that was yesterday.
I think that was yesterday. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, foreseeing into the future, maybe he knows.
Maybe. Look. Either way, I mean, he's starting again, right?
Sorry.
It's on 2 shows again. Go ahead, yeah.
My bad, Mike. I've been wanting to point it out all week because Kaufman was the only one who called it out. That I think a couple weeks back, Gailey had a press conference where he mentioned that after he retired, that he burned up all his notes for defensive coordinators.
Yep.
And that this year he's had to rely on his assistants to let him know what's going on. And I'm just like my mind is blown that nobody else has caught this. Nobody else has mentioned it to him. Nobody else has done anything about this. It's just like, oh, well, yeah, I mean, I guess that looks about right.
Yeah, and it's also interesting that it's basically the Mount Rushmore of modern, 3/4 of the Mount Rushmore of modern defenses is what's given to a Fitz. Vic Fangio, Bill Belichick, Rob Marinelli.
Yeah.
And we smelled a rat, and the WhatsApp chat, I wish I could show it to you. Like, we smelled a rat. Like, what's going on here? When it was Chan Gailey and I think Godsey and Tua were walking 10 yards for 10 yards and looking at the play sheet before the game. Before the game. I guess they were talking about, what do you think that Marinelli might do at this spot and that spot? and they had no idea because they had no tape really on what he was going to do.
Dude,
And
I think me, Juan, and Kai, listen, is there like a monthly subscription we can pay to be in that WhatsApp chat, dude? Listen, I'll pay it.
I'll fly in the room.
Yeah, absolutely. Which we'll get into it in the Q&A section, but I'll just ask it now because it's on my mind. When you guys record 3 yards per carry, are you guys like on like Skype or something? Can you see each other's faces or is it just over the phone?
Nah, it's just over Zoom.
Oh, okay. So, can you see each other's faces? Like you guys have the camera?
No, because it ruins it. It hurts the sound quality. So we just do sound only.
Oh, okay. Because I was gonna say, because I think it was a couple weeks back, Simon called you an a-hole for something, and I'm like, man, I would have died to have seen that facial interaction. Oh, it was when he corrected you on the Bill Belichick thing.
Yeah, and then I decided to start correcting him on everything that he had said before.
That was the best. That's the only reason why I'm thinking like face to face would be great for that.
Yeah, no, it was great. Another great thing that Kaufman did, and it belongs to him. He put out the picture of last year where you saw Chris Greer and Stephen Ross talking to Steve Sarkisian.
Yep.
And that makes a lot of sense. Alabama's going to lose a lot of players this coming season.
They are.
Steve Sarkisian might he might come to the NFL. And he's not going to get like an NFL job right away because you got to remember what happened to him at USC. He had a drinking problem and he had to go into rehab, and so that's a guy that's going to have to like build up some trust and some his resume in the NFL. But man, can you imagine reuniting, getting the band back together? Steve Sarkisian, Tua, Devante Smith.
At that point, we draft all the Alabamas.
It's interesting because I think Chris even mentioned it too, that there was like something in his contract where I don't think it didn't let him go last year, but it was kind of going to be like a bad look for him. To where it looked like, okay, we were trying to go get Sarkisian, get him with Tua, and then it's like, all right, well, we can't really go that route. Who do we have? And they looked around and they're like, let's see what Gailey has. Let's see what the old man can do.
Yeah. Listen, I know that. So Anthony just asked us in the comments. He asked, who would you rather have as offensive coordinator? I think we can all agree Sarkisian's a pretty good fit. There's other options out there. But before we get into that, I just want to close up the playoff talk with just one last question, and we'll all go through and give our answer. Who do you want to see most in the first round? Granted, all these teams are good, right? Nobody's a cakewalk. But what do you guys think is the ideal matchup for the Dolphins if you could pick it out of, I think the only people we can possibly play are the Titans, the Steelers, and the Bills?
Okay, well, I can give you the
easy one.
Oh yeah. So what are the options for who we can play?
I mean, the most likely option is going to be the Titans. If the Dolphins win, it's going to be Titans versus Dolphins in Nashville. So,
but do the Titans need to win their game for that to happen?
I don't actually believe so.
I don't think they'll lose because it's the Texans and they're going to be playing hard because technically they can be eliminated. But
if they lose,
they have a lot of players out.
If they lose and the Colts win, which
the Titans,
no, I'm talking about the
Texans.
The Texans, yeah, they have Tunsil out.
Yeah, the Texans have a ton of players out. I'm just saying, like anything can happen, right? The Jets won twice.
Happens, and the Colts lose, which would be shocking. Like both of those scenarios would just be shocking. We would still play the Titans if the Colts lose and the Titans lose. If the Titans lose, Colts win, we'd play the Colts.
Okay.
They're not going to lose to the Jaguars, and then the Titans losing to the Texans would be so very 2020.
That would be Tannehill messing up our draft pick. That's all it would be.
If the Colts lose to the Jaguars and all the results, despite the Dolphins, if they lose, we'll play the Bills.
Okay.
And then I believe, that's pretty. I mean, it's essentially Bills, Colts, Titans,
and like a tiny bit Steelers, maybe. Some nuts scenario.
I don't think so. I could do more looking into it, but I don't think that there's a possibility. I can check though.
Okay. So then, all right. So
you guys can talk.
One. What is it? We just said Colts, Titans, Bills. And let's just throw them in for maybe, right? Maybe Steelers.
No! If you're telling me maybe Steelers, I'm taking for sure the Steelers.
All right. Then let's throw the Steelers because everybody wants to play the Steelers, including the Jets right now.
I don't want. Look, I'm gonna tell you first. Who I don't want to see. I don't want to see Derrick Henry. Yeah. I definitely.
It's impossible.
I'm kind of scared to see Frank Wright in their run game with that rookie. Just because we haven't really contained the run
Taylor?
that well. Yeah, not really just Taylor, but just more so that like the offensive guy with the run game, because they also have the other running back. I forget his name, 21,
Right.
Naheem Himes, I think.
Yeah,
He's pretty good. So I would probably lean more to the Bills, but that also kind of scares me just because it's a division opponent.
and that's a really good offense.
I would probably say the Colts. Just because Phillip Rivers and we probably get a couple picks off of him.
Just to quickly mention, there's only 6 possibilities for the Dolphins to play the Colts, compared to like 12 and or 15 possibilities for the Dolphins to play the Titans.
Cool.
So in order for that to happen, the Ravens would have to finish 5th. Indy would have to finish 5th, and this is also assuming that the Dolphins lose. Tennessee would have to finish 5th, or Cleveland.
Okay,
and that's only another and that
would be for us to play the Bills, right?
That would be to play the Steelers.
Oh, okay.
It's highly unlikely that they will play the Steelers.
Got it.
Yeah, I think the Steelers is like that. Like that's the obvious thing, right? Like if you're going to build an offense for the Dolphin defense to smash, it would be the Steelers.
Yeah,
it's either you're either going to play essentially
run for 5 yards last week.
Yeah, so that's obvious, right? But then you have the Steelers defense that's really, really, really good, right? So then you move on to the Colts, and the Colts, you're thinking to yourself, okay, they're a more balanced team. They're probably the best team, to be honest with you, out of the 3, as far as being complete.
Right.
Because they are really complete. But it is Phillip Rivers. And Phillip Rivers is stationary.
The game last week. They had what was it, 24-3 lead? And they lost 28-24.
Yeah. So you got to figure, okay, Dolphins can handle Phillip Rivers, and their defense is good also. But then you get to the Titans, and that offense is really, really good. But you know what they're going to do. They're going to try to establish the running game, and then they're going to go play action. And then you go on the other side of the ball, and their defense is absolute garbage.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But
I guess I would rather play Tennessee, and I would tell.
Wow. Okay.
And I would rather rely on Brian Flores to have some tricks up his sleeve as far as how he's going to contain Derrick Henry.
That's the most. I mean, it would be. Yeah, I mean that's the most. In any other scenario, the Dolphins would have to lose, and then it's either, depending on other seeding, the Bills or Pittsburgh. So it's either going to be Indy or Tennessee, depending on who wins and who loses. If Tennessee loses and Indy wins, it'll be Colts. If Tennessee wins and Indy loses, it would be the Titans, and that's also banking on the Dolphins winning. If the Dolphins lose, they need help. That would mean Tennessee would have to miss
one of the 3, right?
Yeah, I mean, I had said it, and I think some people were kind of I guess they were a little standoffish about it because, hearing an absolute is kind of shocking, and nothing is absolute in the NFL. But it would just be a shock for the Dolphins to not make the playoffs at this point.
Right. I don't think
like all 4. Yeah, I don't think that all 4 of the Browns, Ravens, or all 5 of the Browns, Ravens, Colts, Dolphins, Titans win their games. That would just be. It's obviously possible, but one of them is going to slip. Hopefully, it's not us, right. But one of them is going to slip.
Right. So then, do you want to see the Titans too, Kai?
Yeah.
I only want to see it because of Ryan. I just want to end his.
That's the only reason why.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys watched that Packers game, but it was hilarious. They put up his numbers, and they were like, "Oh, this guy's playing as good as Mahomes," and I'm like, "Yeah, man, he's playing as good as Mahomes." Yeah, I completely agree with you. Like he deserves MVP votes. And they go, and he takes care of the ball, and because of that running game, he really does take care of the ball. He drops back to pass, and he throws it right at a linebacker. The very next play, and I was like, man, if we get bad Tanny.
But that was always our gripe with him, right? Like listen, I bought.
We're moving on to the second round.
But he always did that in the big moments. He threw those picks. He had those bad plays. Yeah. So that's why we moved on.
I just feel like there's so much negative karma built into playing the Tennessee Titans, just because it's an ex-Patriots head coach against another ex-Patriots head coach. We're talking about Tannehill. It is going to be a revenge game for him. He'll downplay it. He'll be humble about it, but he's going to want to just destroy us.
Able to make Tannehill look like that, and the Packers defense hasn't been outstanding, and especially even against the run. Like last year, if they had played. Let's say it was like somehow, Packers got to the Super Bowl last year, which they weren't going to. Their run defense was horrible, and the 49ers showed that, and the Titans got there. It would have been, believable that the Titans would have probably run the football all over the Packers, and it would have had to take an Aaron Rodgers miracle. But like, even just holding like Derrick Henry to 98, I think is pretty good for the Packers, considering that their run defense last year was horrific.
Right.
So if they were able to figure it out and only hold him to 98, it's still a lot. But
my only concern, right, is did really the defense hold them to 98? Or was Green Bay's offense just didn't let them get their running game going how they would want to?
Because if we get a couple 3-and-outs, then they just run it down our throats. And it's
the Packers also ran down their throats. I mean, AJ Dillon, I'm pretty sure he had a long run in there, but 21 for 124, 2 touchdowns, and he's a rookie who.
I mean, but I'm not going to rely on like you mentioned, Alfredo. Tennessee's defense isn't great, but. We haven't really had the easiest time with bad defenses. Like I would love to say we have, but we haven't. We just played the Raiders and they made it look tough. We played Denver, who statistically they're not too
until
bad.
They didn't though, right?
Right.
Until they did.
Yeah. It's just we have our moments, right? And it's like I'm not just gonna sit there and say, oh, they're a terrible defense, let's take it, because I am really worried about Henry. Like Juan is like, if he wants to run it down our throats and Christian Wilkins and Raekwon aren't having their best games, like.
I just seen too many.
And we're missing Roberts. Like Roberts
he's sending him to a different universe. Bro.
Yeah,
like he's just like destroying people and just like mushing them.
What is he gonna do to Xavier's self-confidence or Nick Needham? Listen, he's gonna send Nick Needham 10 yards downfield. I love the guy, but he's pretty small. He's just gonna shove him. So I don't know. I still think it's the most interesting matchup, and I want to eliminate Tannehill just so that I don't have to worry about him winning the Super Bowl again like I did last year. But So I think we can open it up now for questions. I know Anthony had one. It's draft talk. I don't know how much draft.
Get a bottle of water.
Oh yeah. I don't know how much draft research you guys have done. The only thing I know for sure is I'm not taking a quarterback at number 3. Right.
Really
quick.
I'm
so sure of this that my wife, who doesn't watch football, knows this. Like I don't even know why people are talking about that, but whatever.
Really, really, really quick. If all teams do win out, which again would be shocking. And the Dolphins play the Titans, and then let's say the Ravens beat the Steelers in the playoffs, which wouldn't be surprising, and the Bills just put the thrashing on the Browns, which also wouldn't be surprising. The Dolphins would play the Bills in Buffalo in the divisional round, just for
hey, anything to not play Kansas City second round, I'm down.
And let me ask you guys, because I think they were mentioning it to Chris the other day, or Chris asked about it the other day. How many games has Tua realistically played in under 30-degree weather?
I think he answered that question. It was in
wasn't it in high school?
In high school, he played a game where it was really, really cold.
Probably in Washington.
Because
like 15 degrees or something.
Yeah, I'm seeing Buffalo. It's looking like it's going to be snowing in Buffalo. Mm-hmm. We're talking about Tennessee. Tennessee's going to be cold.
Asked him if he's ever played in snow. He said no, but that he's seen snow, which would make sense because it snows in Alabama. Like in December, in December you go outside in Alabama and like, hey, look, there's snow on the floor. So but played in snow, no. I will say this, and I'm not trying to make anybody nervous or anything, but nobody has ever looked more miserable in 50-degree weather than Tua Tagovailoa. Yeah. And I don't know why that is, but he better get over it because in the NFL, come December, that's all you play in.
Unless every playoff game is against like the Jaguars and the Super Bowl is in Tampa again, or you're playing Arizona,
or you start winning your division and you get the 2 seed or the 1 seed, and then you start playing games at home.
Yeah, that's nuts. But
hey, that's 75-degree weather in Miami in January.
Listen, hey, you can't beat it. You can't beat it. Alfredo, I don't know how much draft work you've done, but Anthony was asking here. Is there any cornerback? And I'd be surprised if we drafted a cornerback early, just because we've already invested in it a bit, unless there's a trade or something. But is there any cornerback? Because he's asking, is there any cornerback that you think kind of fits in? If we let Xavier move on and just keep Noah, is there anybody you're looking at?
No, I haven't done much work in the secondary as of yet. I'll get on that as soon as the season's over. But the guys were talking about it, but no, there's not really anything that, as far as like really putting out a lot of assets to go get, not this offseason.
But you're taking Justin Fields at 3, right? just like all the media wants us to.
Let me ask you, Alfredo. In the Chase versus Devante versus Waddle debate, where do you stand in that?
That was a great debate the other day. Oh yeah, man.
I like Devante Smith. I think Devante Smith is the most complete out of them all.
Yeah,
I think Chase is a do-over on Devante Parker's career. Okay, so it's like saying, okay, we're gonna run the clock back all the way, and let's get it right with Devante Parker this time.
Hopefully, this one won't get hurt every year.
You know what I mean? So I think they're kind of like redundant talents, and I'm trying to explain it to some guy that some listener of ours on the 3YPC account, like, okay, yeah, great. I understand that Allen Robinson is better than Devante, but he's not. But he's not better than him. That you have to pay him double what Devante makes. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I do encourage people, go to Sport Track, go look at Devante Parker's his salary for the next 2 years. It's a dream. Okay,
it's
for his
nice.
production.
Yeah.
They signed 4 for 40, right? If I'm not mistaken, 10 a year essentially.
Yeah,
I wouldn't give him away. Like I don't understand people that say give him away because we're at a lack of wide receivers.
And you want to trade the ones that we barely have. And you want to trade
the only one on our team.
That was the other question I was going to ask. I don't understand why that was an argument or even a debate in the chat. I think it was yesterday.
Yeah.
And for the audience, we're talking about like the 5 reasons general chat and stuff like that.
But it was like 100 messages, guys.
It was shocking.
My phone would not stop.
That the Devante Parker. I'm not gonna call any names. That was shocking. With the fact that you're gonna be looking to add people to take someone away, and someone who signed for a really nice deal for the team is.
And he's the only guy.
And turned a new leaf as well.
Yeah.
Like when we really think about it, yeah, he got injured with his hamstring, but like the Devante Parker 2 years ago under Adam Gase would have said, my ankle hurts. I'm gonna be out for 3 weeks.
He would have toughed it out.
It's a completely different mentality, and I think it would just be shocking to let him go.
And I'm sure Devante is really bummed that he's not out there because he said at the beginning of the season, I'm not missing any games. And he really wanted to not miss any games.
And he was playing hurt.
So listen, if he needs to sit out for him to be healthy either this Sunday or if we do make it to the playoffs, I'm fine with it. I'm not going to hold it against him. And he's going out there and putting his body on the line for the team. So I'm with it with Parker.
Like you asked, I love all 3 guys, but it's Devante Smith for me. And, Waddle's fine. Like if they take Waddle, I'll be just as happy.
That's good too.
But I think Tua settled it today, right? Didn't he bring up Devante Smith out of nowhere?
Did he bring it up?
No, I think they asked him. I think they asked him because he won National Player of the Year. That's why. But just real quick, because now we brought up at number 3 because that's what we're looking at right now. I'm more so with I would love to trade back. That would be my perfect scenario. In the event that we can't trade back or that we're stuck at 3, my feeling with the kid from Oregon, right? It's a premium pick because obviously left tackle is a premium position in the NFL. But our quarterback, his blind side is the right side. So would we already be drafting him to already transition him to the right side, or we would just leave him into the left side?
I believe he's a left-handed. He's the left tackle. So I'm pretty sure he's a lock left tackle. And the reason everybody's so hot over him, and I've seen a lot of Dolphin fans say, just sit there at 3, just take Penny Sewell and just, be done with it. It's not that easy, guys. Okay. You understand you have the 3rd pick. You don't have the 2nd pick. We all know who the 1st pick is going to be, right? The 2nd pick is probably the Jets. We know the Bengals want Penny Sewell. Okay. Who knows? Maybe the Jets deal with Cincinnati and they say, okay, give us this, give us that. We'll give you the 2nd overall pick. And we'll take our developmental quarterback because I really do believe that after you get past Trevor Lawrence, the rest of the guys are iffy. I don't like Justin Fields that much.
Trevor Lawrence in the field, essentially.
But the reason everybody's so hot over this kid is that there was a pretty good left tackle draft this past year, right? None of those guys are in the same stratosphere as Penny Sewell. Right. So, we're talking about another generational talent. And if he falls to you, Austin Jackson was asked that. He said, I played everywhere. I could play in the right side or whatever.
Yeah.
So maybe you could do a thing where, you could start the season with Penny Sewell at left guard, maybe, and then transition him to left tackle and then move
with Tunsil.
Yeah, something like with Tunsil.
But the difference there was Tunsil started at left guard because you had, what's the name? Brandon Albert at left tackle, right? Yeah. So I think they would be quicker to move Austin Jackson over to right tackle. Bump Hunt inside to right guard, move Kinley over to left guard, and then kind of start probably the youngest offensive line that has ever started in the NFL, if those are your 5 guys. But I do find the Sewell stuff interesting. I'm with you, Juan, though. I'm all about trading back. I'm like, if I can trade back in a 6 or 7, get me a wide receiver there, pick up another pick for a future year. I think people are saying that if a quarterback falls, maybe if somebody really likes them or if somebody really wants Sewell, that we can maybe get a similar haul to what we got for Tunsil in the first place, which would be, I mean, that would be amazing.
Is Bill O'Brien employed yet, or
listen?
No?
I hope the Jets employ him or somebody. That would be great. Actually, the Jets should call.
I'll give you a name because everybody was saying, oh, you got to take a developmental quarterback. I'll give you one really good one. And Chris Kaufman was on this kid like 2 years ago, and he's really, really good from Cincinnati. Desmond Ridder. If he's in the 3rd round, I use a pick. I use a pick on him, and then he's my developmental quarterback and my eventual backup. And then I start developing him, and maybe even trade him for something down the line because I think he's going to be really good.
Right.
Really quick. On some draft stuff, and then there's a question from Anthony. I hope that you can read that, Michael. He's asked it a couple times about the Flores and the offense coordinator one.
Yeah.
Quick reminder: the lowest of the Dolphins pick can fall to is 5, so there's no guarantee that the Dolphins will. At least I believe it is 5. It could be 6, but I'm pretty sure it's 5.
I thought it was 9.
I think didn't they secure a top 5?
No,
pick?
yeah, they secured top 5 after the Bills won.
They're so perfect. Yeah. So the lowest it can fall to is 5. So if Cincinnati does jump up, then they probably wouldn't have to trade with the Jets. But then who knows what the Jets are going to do? No, nothing. We never really know anything. And I think no one really ever knows anything, in my personal opinion, until like a week before, because that's when all of us start to catch up with the NFL.
Right.
Just my personal opinion. And then to just quickly touch on Devante Parker's deal. Not only was it 4 years, $40 million, it's actually 4 years, $30 million. Had 9.5 in signing bonus. His base salary, of course, there's add-ins and other stuff like that. 7.5 or 7.7 for next season. He's on 1.3 this season. 5.6 in 2022. 5.7 in 2023.
That's beautiful.
That's dirt cheap.
For a guy who can get for a guy who can get 1,000 yards a season, that's great. Like that,
you are not trading that contract.
That's probably got to be the cheaper top wide receiver contracts.
However, if they do, their only out is now. So if they do want to get out of the contract, they have to do it this offseason.
Yeah. Wait, real quick. We're running a little over, so I'm going to ask the 3 questions that I kind of see in the chat, and then we'll kind of close it up. So I'm going to let Alfredo answer all of these because he's kind of our expert for today. I think the first one that I saw earlier, I'm going to go with expert. Out of this panel, I'm going to go with expert. But I saw one earlier. Michael Dieter played a pretty good game when he came in. That first play when he came in was atrocious. I mean, he was 5 yards backfield, but after that he was pulling really well, and it looked like our run game was working pretty well when he was in there. They're wondering why haven't we used Dieter more if we feel like the offensive line is struggling. Do you anticipate seeing any more of Dieter or not?
I don't think we're going to see him again. I think they're pretty happy with his role as far as a swing guard, swing center.
Right.
And I think in the offseason, unless they draft one in the first round, unless they take Creed Humphrey, I think Michael Dieter gets a really long look at center in
to start. Offseason. Yeah, because Karras is a free agent, right?
I believe he signed a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
So.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Anthony was asking offensive coordinator. He mentioned Steve Sarkisian and Tony Elliott, who he says is the offensive coordinator for Clemson. I'm not actually sure of that. I think that is right. But would you want any of those two to be offensive coordinator next year? Do you want Gailey to stay, or is there another name you'd prefer to have?
No, I think Steve Sarkisian makes a lot of sense. But if Gailey leaves, it's obviously maybe Godsey takes over the job. But yeah, Steve Sarkisian would be the guy that I would want.
Is that your number one? Like it's Sarkisian?
Yeah, it's the familiarity, and the guy's really competent. The guy's really good at what he does.
Was the Atlanta Falcons coordinator as well. For 3 years.
Did pretty well there when they let him.
First year was really good. Second year, not so great. Then the third year, that he actually had brought it back up from what the second year was, and they fired him anyways. So
I mean, he did better than Gase did in all of his years, and Gase got a head coaching job out of it. So,
and that's probably just quickly. I don't remember if it was you, Alfredo, that mentioned the contract situation, or maybe it was Juan or Michael. I can't remember who mentioned it exactly with his contract. Maybe that's why it's kind of that couldn't leave after 1 year thing, because
Alfredo mentioned that
fired from the Falcons, now back at Bama. So just to bring that in.
Yeah. There. And then this last one, which I think is going to transition nicely into our predictions. Do you think they'll let the training wheels off of Tua right? Do you think they're going to let him do more hurry up, more fast-paced game this Sunday or at any point this season? Or they're just going to keep trying to hold him back a little bit, run the ball, do some tricky stuff where he turns his back to the defense and whatnot?
Yeah, I think that they'll slowly feed him a little bit more, but I believe that they want to stick to their identity that they found a couple of weeks ago, and it's going to be ball control stuff. They're going to give him the same shots. Trust when I tell you that it was on the All-22. They gave him shot plays. He just didn't go for them. Okay, so he'll get the same opportunities. There just won't be that many. Like, it's not going to be the YOLO offense that you saw Fitzpatrick run. They're going to run the ball. It's going to be a lot of short control passing games, some play action, and then some shot plays mixed in. If he hits those shot plays, he's going to end up with a pretty nice game. If he doesn't hit those shot plays, he's going to end up with a game very similar to what he had against the Patriots. Efficient, but not many yards.
And hopefully if he hits those shot plays, the receivers catch them. That is a very big worry of mine. I don't know if Devante Parker's coming back this week. The injury report, when I looked at it, wasn't out yet, but Parker's still on it as limited, right?
Mm-hmm. But he's been practicing. So
okay, that is good to know. So then, what are your score predictions for this week's game, everybody? And along with that, if you don't say win, do you think the Dolphins make the playoffs? So we'll start with Juan.
The 3YPC ending.
Yeah, I think. I think we do end up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we do end up going into the playoffs. I feel like we're going to end up beating Buffalo. Score probably 27-23. I do think they're going to put in their backups probably more so in the second half than anything. And then from there, it's kind of just us taking care of business and kind of finishing through with the season and heading into the playoffs with a positive momentum. Get to a comfortable, let them see a little more, let them experience a little more, give them maybe 2 or 3 of those Fitz plays that we kind of see running in the All-22, and just see where we go.
Yeah. Okay.
Do I score prediction, right? Or are we going to wait until Sunday officially for the actual score? So we're just going to say win
do win or loss and then playoffs or no?
Win, playoffs versus Titans, and then I'll add something to that. Shangeli gets fired at season's end.
Whoa, another offensive coordinator firing at the end. Man, Flores is going to get a reputation.
I think I'm gonna stick with the same exact prediction I had on the 3 yards per carry account. I think that the Dolphins win and they win comfortably because I believe that the Bills are gonna rest guys in that game. And if they don't, I think it'll be close at halftime, and then it won't be close by the end of the game. Because, come on, Matt Barkley's not going to beat the Dolphins. All right? Okay? But I think that, when I made that prediction, I didn't know that Ben Roethlisberger was going to sit. I'm going to stick with that prediction. I think the Dolphins are going to be high-fiving on the sideline saying, hey, we're going to the playoffs. They're going to look up at the scoreboard and say, oh, it didn't matter because the Steelers are beating the Browns. Right. So I'm going to go ahead and predict that the Browns complete the collapse and they lose to Mason Rudolph anyway and miss the playoffs.
I mean, if they're ever going to lose to a backup, right? Like that makes.
Yeah, like I don't understand what the Steelers are doing. Mike Tomlin came out today and said everybody's playing except Ben Roethlisberger.
Maybe he's trying to save Ben's arm because Ben ain't got no arm left. I mean,
he knows their first round and out with Ben at QB. I mean, they're not going to put Mason Rudolph, but he's first round and out.
Man, quarterback controversy in Pittsburgh. Everybody get off the Dolphins' back. Somebody go talk about Mason Rudolph versus Ben.
Someone talk about the Steelers giving us some picks to move up, maybe at quarterback.
Maybe. I'm gonna agree with the rest of you guys. I think we all said win. We all said win in playoffs. If we win, it's basically guaranteed. We play against the Titans, right, yes. Kai? It's almost guaranteed.
As long as the Titans win. If the Titans Colts win, then it'll be the Colts.
Right. But it's one of those two teams, right? Titans or Colts, which I think are pretty decent
AFC South.
matchups. Yeah, it's pretty decent matchups for the Dolphins. I think it is a win. And I think that actually they'll rest more of their guys from the start of the game, the Bills. I think they probably just won't even bring them in because the Dolphins have a pretty good defense. Don't want to risk anything with Josh Allen or Diggs. Because if you lose one of those two guys, your playoffs are done. And as it looks right now, they are the best shot to unseat the Chiefs as AFC champions, as Super Bowl champions out of everyone in the AFC East. So out of AFC. So I'm going to go with Dolphins win, Dolphins make playoffs. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you guys for watching. Again, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We're so close to 10,000. It would be awesome to hit that before the end of the year. Obviously,
40 away.
Yeah, obviously listen to 3 yards per carry every
30
single
away.
week.
We're 30 away.
Oh, we're 30 away
actually.
now? Hey, we made some progress, guys. We did it. And don't forget to check out Alfredo's yard work that he puts out every week on the channel, going over some film stuff. If you really want to learn football, I don't come from a football background. It teaches me so much. I love watching it. Juan also puts out a bunch of film too on specific players, breaking down their plays and what's going on there. Make sure to follow both of them on Twitter. Follow Kai and myself as well, but they're the ones that know the X's and know a lot. So if you want that deeper knowledge, follow them. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate you being here, and we'll be back next week at 7 p.m. for another episode.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Of course.